The hidden truth about insurance marketing, choosing the right marketing strategy for your business.
Welcome to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast.
We're your host, David and Elle Denning.
What happens when a millennial couple dives headfirst into the insurance world, scales $1 million remote business, and decides to share the journey with the world?
You get the Modern Insurance Agent.
Here, we reveal the messy, magical, and sometimes hilarious realities of building a business and a life you love.
From traveling the globe to building remote teams. Yes, even working remotely on top of a mountain in the Philippines. We're sharing insights, strategies, and plenty of laughs to help agents and entrepreneurs succeed.
Because, let's face it, success isn't just about hitting numbers.
It's about designing a life that works for you.
So let's dive in and build something extraordinary together.
So today we're talking about the one thing that can grow or kill your business faster than anything else: how you spend your money trying to get in front of people for your business. But before we hop into everything, where can they get all the amazing stuff we always got put together for them?
Yes. So if you want the show notes, you want marketing resources, head on over to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast to get all of the marketing goodies that we've put together for you.
I love it, guys. And we always put together amazing stuff in there. If we have a guest on, how to go connect with them, any guides, any tips, tricks, walkthroughs, everything we have for you guys, trainings, we'll put them all there. So make sure you guys check it out. We got some amazing episodes. If you haven't gone through our back catalog of guests we've had on, go check them out. So much insights you guys can take for free for your business. Go put in place, right? So today we're going to talk about that. Exactly. What is that? Getting in front of people. There's many different options. It's kind of like, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, what do I choose? And they're all kind of scary, just like lions and tigers and bears, right? And so, and what's the pros? What's the cons? What should I know so I don't make mistakes with my money? And then even how do I think about using my money in those ways? So everybody's chasing leads, but few agents actually evaluate their marketing and the way a business owner should. Elle, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, actually, I think this podcast came about because you and I were having a conversation about this recently, in that we really feel that there's a lack of education for the insurance space specifically when it comes to marketing and investing in marketing. And my general feeling is that a lot of agents are typically not investing enough in their marketing, or they're investing in the wrong strategies. So this episode came about from David and I just having some conversations about some common pitfalls that we see people make in their businesses. Of course, we're always going to be champions for organic social, because it doesn't matter what you're doing as far as paid marketing goes. Organic social is always going to help you get a better return on your investment when you're doing organic. But we want to dive into some of the things that agents are commonly investing into, or that they're thinking about investing into, kind of give you guys some numbers from what we see, so that you can be strategic and smart about where you're investing those marketing dollars.
And with that, we might actually end up doing a series of these, because, Elle and I are big believers in really learning as much as you can about running a business and treating your insurance business like a business.
Yes.
And putting that in place. And the good news is, no, you don't need an MBA. You don't need to have, gone to school exactly for this. You don't need to have run businesses before. But you do need to learn and implement these things, especially if this is going to be your career. If this is going to be your business that you build, that you plan to scale, and is not just a side hobby, you really need to bring these lessons in these different areas of business you need to learn about, and eventually either hire on these areas, like whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's operations, whether it's, leveraging assistants or virtual assistants. There's so many different areas to your business. Knowing your financials, your P&L, how am I planning for taxes? How am I able to invest in the growth of my business and scale up? How do I 10x it? All these things are things that that we've had to learn. We didn't go to school for building and scaling an insurance business. I couldn't spell the word insurance probably back then, and never in a million years I think I'd end up in this industry. And so that's what we want to dive into, and one of those is marketing that we're going to talk about today. And so I encourage guys, it's a constant journey of continuous learning for your business. So if you aren't learning, even outside the insurance industry, because it's still business, so pick up what you can in regards to leading teams of people, into hiring, into running operations, into knowing those financials. It's just education of learning how to read a P&L, how to look at your cash flow, which is key for agents. It's one of the things that probably kills so many agents in this business more so than a lot, is exactly what we're about to talk through, is thinking through the finances of your business. So the good news was that you didn't have to already know these things, but the encouraged news is to learn these things and invest in learning these things. And that's what we're going to cover one of these areas today. So there's no magic bullet, but there is a better way to think through. Like, right, since there's no magic bullet, that doesn't mean, I'll just go do whatever for my marketing. It's all the same, right? So what's your breakdown on that?
Yeah, well, every type of lead generation is going to be a little bit different. And so today we are going to explore the pros and cons, and maybe there might be a few reality checks along the way here. I know I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I know when, for most people, as they're getting into the space, they're told to buy leads. And so we will talk about leads, but as you're listening to this episode, I really encourage you to just broaden your horizons into thinking about marketing as a whole. We're going to break down the different systems and some numbers for you guys. But all of your whole marketing aspect of your business really should be working together. And I think we're going to jump into this a little bit here, but as you're thinking about allocating money into marketing, we generally say 20 to 25% of what you're bringing in as far as revenue needs to go into your marketing, as far as reinvesting that back into the business. And I think that's a good segue into this, of talking about, expenses versus investments. And, I think a lot of times when people are thinking about marketing, they think about it as a cost. They think about it as an expense that's going to take money out of the business. But true marketing that actually works really should be an investment that grows your business, so that you're actually getting a return back on those marketing dollars that you're spending.
And to come back to your point a little bit earlier on the 20 to 25%, guys, that's a minimum and not the maximum. So there's times where we're spending a lot more. Earlier on in our business, we spent a lot more percentage on marketing, because that's how we're going to acquire clients, right? Then over time, lowering and if you need to a minimum of the 20-25% really needs to consistently be going towards marketing. And with that, evaluating what I'm spending, where, Elle talked about expenses versus investments, and, looking at what does that mean for an expense and what does that mean for investment, because they're not the same. And if we treat them the same, you're going to end up being afraid to put any money into your business, and you're going to limit or have no growth and end up in the situation that you wanted to avoid in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where we see that we call it the hamster wheel. That's where you feel like you're just running on a hamster wheel. As much money that you're making, or sometimes even more than what you're making, you're putting it back into a lot of times leads or marketing, just to feel like you're able to cover your expenses, and you're not actually building any profit inside of the business. And, the reality really is, for most businesses, you're not going to turn a profit for a couple of years. I mean, that is true for a lot of small businesses as they're getting off of the ground. This is why startups raise capital and money and funding, because it takes a lot of money to market and to grow a business quickly. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. So if you're just getting started in the industry and you're looking to, almost looking at this as like a job, and that you're just looking to, cover your living expenses with the business, that's really the wrong way, I think, to look at it. You're almost setting yourself up for failure because you're going to get discouraged with it. Instead, you really want to think like, and didn't have this in the agenda to talk about personal expenses, but as you're starting a business, you want to reduce your personal expenses as much as possible. At the beginning of this, every single podcast that we do, David and I run our little intro that we talk about where we lived in Southeast Asia. Well, we did that because we wanted location independence and freedom to travel, but there was also a very real financial reason why we lived outside of the country as much as we possibly could, because it was cheaper for us to live in Southeast Asia, rent our house out here in Florida, and have a side income from rental income than it was for us to live inside of the US. And we did that for the first 4 years of building our business so that we could reduce our personal expenses as much as possible. And of course, we had a ton of fun. We love adventure. We love traveling.
The food's pretty good
too.
The
food is amazing. So, I mean, we had a blast doing it, but we were also thinking about the financial aspects of it as well.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the most important time, especially if you're coming into this not having run business before, if you're coming into this not having budget and capital really set aside for the first few months or even first year or more for your business, it's so key to look at cash flow and to start generating cash flow and income and revenue as quick as possible, to then you can start working on scaling. And from, if you keep your expenses really low, you're making income you can reinvest back in your business. The first 6 months or year is not make as much profit, put it in the bank, go on the yacht trips. It's scale as much up as I can and stack as much cash and reinvest in the business for growing that to the point where, oh, I can take money and do the things I want to in my life and my goals, but I've built up something stable and predictable and a true business that supports that. Also, hopefully team as well, because if I want to go on that trip, I don't want to make no income while I'm on that trip. So that's things to think about here. And come back really early on to this conversation, something agents, talk about a lot and see in a lot of these discussions and groups and that we've had as well, is two of the biggest areas of an insurance business and growing your business is marketing and sales, right? Obviously fulfillment, customer service and everything too, but those are the two biggest areas. And then, people go back and forth. Well, I should develop all my skills in sales, how to handle objections, how to get people to cross the line. And, and they invest heavily, or their agencies invest heavily in teaching sales, or at least the good ones do. A lot of them just don't teach anything, which is a whole separate conversation, but they're teaching sales, right? And that's because, okay, I'm buying leads. They're going to be really tough to trust me and to get them anywhere. So I have to learn sales to try to drive that across the line. Now, there's not a lot of organizations and agencies and uplines, teaching the marketing side of how do I choose and bring in and pursue marketing to bring in my prospects, clients, referral partners, and everything on that side, which, from our perspectives, if I had to choose one to go heavy in, develop and to learn, if I'm become really, really good at marketing on how to find my exact target audience who I can help, how to bring them to me, knowing their pain points, how to speak to them, have them basically approaching me wanting to buy a policy and needing that and already trusting me. Do I have to be good at sales? No, I don't have to be great at sales at all. In fact, I can kind of suck at sales. And they're just like, hey, David, I like you. Yeah, no, this is a fit. I need this anyways, right? And I didn't even have to be that good at it. Whereas I could be the best salesperson in the world, but if I don't have people coming to me, or just the toughest people in the world to try to convert all day long, then either I'm not making sales, or it's just a struggle and I get burnt out. So this is where I'm saying, I'm not saying you have to choose one or the other, but you should be at least as heavy in the marketing side and bringing in prospects and opportunities as you are the sales side if you want to grow a successful insurance business.
Yeah, like if nobody knows that you exist, you have nobody to sell. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So David and I are both of the belief that marketing, learning the skills of marketing, and also just understanding different ways to market your business, is it's the best skill that you can acquire as a business owner, just hands down. Even if you're going to hire people down the road to do this stuff for you, which ideally you do, but you need to know what you're hiring for. If you have no idea what a marketer does, then it's not a good use of your money, because you don't know, are they using it well? Are you getting an ROI from what you're paying for?
And that's where Elle and I have always taken a firm belief in, you should know how these different areas of your business work and operate, even if you're ultimately going to hire for that.
Mm-hmm.
And like Elle said, you can't hire for something if you don't know how it works or how it operates. And this is where people buy from lead vendors, try to run their own ads, try to do all these things in their business, but they don't know how to do them, or they hire someone for them and they have no idea if, essentially that the people are doing them very incorrectly. We see this all the time with like social media. I hired someone to do social media for me, and they're like, yeah, they're posting a few times on my business page a week. And, they're telling me I'm getting some views and some likes. And I'm like, well, that's the exact opposite of what's generating actual business, because that's not really how the algorithm works at all. And they're like, I had no idea. And they would carry on for years and years with this investment, just really not knowing that, it's not how it's actually going to produce results for their business. And there's just something, they're putting out money every single month. So coming back to that, let's hop into, how do I think about using money in my business, right? Expenses versus investments. Expenses take money out of your business. An investment is to put money back in. It's investing in something that's going to help you generate return or generate growth, right? So, if I look at, buying a cool piece of swag for my business, that might be more of an expense. Maybe someone you hand it out to sees something, but really it's more of an expense. Whereas if I'm investing in, a Facebook ad that's going to get in front of the right person and they see it and they're going to come talk to me, well, now I'm getting returns out of this as well. So when we break down these different areas of generating business for yourself, these would be investing in your business and marketing, because marketing is generating the opportunities and the sales and the revenue for your business. So if you can directly tie it to revenue and ways to increase revenue, that's an investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And an expense is more like a one-night stand. An investment is a relationship that grows and compounds. And your best marketing investments are going to be ones that build brand equity. David and I are big on this and this concept and this is why we love organic social media and using social media, because you can think about it of building a relationship with your audience that compounds over time. That's equity. That's a real investment that you're putting into the business. Now, other marketing methods like buying leads from a third party that has no branding component to it, that doesn't really allow you to get in front of the prospect before you are picking up the phone. Yes, it can be an investment into the business to buy leads, if you're getting a return from those leads, but you are missing out from an equity building component, which is that branding. And good marketing does build equity. It builds that trust. It builds the rapport with your ideal target market over time.
And I think the easiest way to think about it is like renting or owning, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I'm renting a property, I'm not building any equity, like Elle just said. I'm not having something that continues to reward me over time. As soon as I stop renting, I'm homeless or I don't have opportunities coming in for my business, right? So the best investments in your marketing are ones that continue rewarding you over time and more and more and more, and then ultimately end up more and more profitable over time. So I'm building equity. I own that, and I've put time and effort into things that continue to reward me. So think about that as you look at different opportunities, as we're going to break these down in just a second, of what's going to continuously give me growth and opportunities and reward me versus what am I maybe just renting? And maybe I'm just renting it for a period of time until I go into ownership and building this up over time that rewards me as well. So with that, we're going to walk through some of the big ways agents are trying to get leads and investing in marketing their business. And we'll go through what's actually working, what's fading, maybe used to work, is not working as well today, and then how to tell the difference, right? So let's go ahead and hop in. One method that, maybe used to be the king, is it the king anymore? I don't know. We'll talk about is direct mail.
Yeah. So direct mail is kind of a mixed bag. I think outside of the insurance space, I still hear, pretty good things about direct mail in general, as far as people getting anywhere from that 3 to up to even 6, and sometimes even up to 9% response rate from the pieces of mail that they're sending out. But David, you tell me if you agree with this, but generally with the clients that we work with and from people that we have connections with in the space, responses from direct mail are on the decline. It used to be kind of 3% was that benchmark, but now we're hearing closer to 0.5% to 1% response rate.
Yep.
Is that accurate from what you hear?
That's what I've been seeing here from our Facebook group of 35,000 plus agents, of working with 1,000 agents and talking constantly with other marketers around the country. That has declined year over year over year, and it makes sense, right? Because if you think about just all the physical mail you get, which I mean, honestly, I don't hardly even look at or read physical mail. I just kind of like throw it on a desk and hopefully eventually take a look at it. But anything that looks like a marketing piece immediately goes in the recycling bin, right? It's recycle, so I'm saving the earth for it. So, at least trying to pass it along. But, if you look at it, and especially if you're falling into a life-changing category, like you bought a home, you sold a home, you're turning 65, if you've been around any of those people, or you're one of those people yourselves, how much crazy amount of mailers that you get, and you're one of 1,000 pieces of mailers that are coming across that just blend in together and get thrown into something. And so, it's not that you can't get returns off of it. It's just it's declining in the effectiveness, right? And now, maybe 5-10 years in the future where people don't really hardly get mail at all. So now it's a special thing when something comes across, maybe, because marketing is cyclical sometimes. Sometimes things like, get oversaturated and they come back and are effective again. Something to keep in mind. But as right now, the cost of mailing is going up, the response rate's going down. And so if you look at it, is it as profitable as it used to be? Probably not.
Yeah. And I think what's really important to also think about with direct mail is that a lot of it comes down to the quality of the list that you're also mailing. I mean, this is going to be true for any of the things that we talk about in marketing. Making sure that you are mailing people that are your ideal client, and also that you are mailing them multiple times. So at a minimum, you need to mail at least one house 3 times, but closer to 6 times to truly get a response back and to make it worth it. So like if you did a mail drop just to, let's say 1,000 people and you didn't mail them again, this is where we start going into that expense category versus that investment category, because it's kind of just like a waste because you're not really building any type of brand equity with them. And also, I will say, having branded mailers, something with your brand, your face, your name, and this is going to be true for everything that we talk about. I'm always going to promote something that can build your brand versus something that's just like a very generic, just looks like nondescript, doesn't really have any type of branding associated with it. It's also a way that it can help stand out from other mailers out there, when you're using your face. I will always say that your face is your best brand asset, even more than your logo. Use your face, use your name, lean into personal branding.
Yeah, if my face isn't breaking the camera or setting the mailer on fire, you'll be fine, right? and that's something to consider, right? Because it rarely is finding the cheapest way of doing something produce the best results. So if you're doing the generic mailers, the state regulated final expense program, whatever, whatever those generic mailers are, you're not going to get. It's going to, once again, they're going to get multiple of these things. You're not going to stand out. It's going to go in the trash bin and you're going to get a minimal return. Whereas if you do something branded, like Elle said, it may be more to send out those mailers. But if you're ultimately getting a better response and a better sales and people recognizing who you are and referring others over to you, it's worth it, right? But Elle, walk through even just some of those numbers of what that may look like today, just for a scenario for them to consider.
Yeah. So let's say you are mailing 1,000 people. It's closer to a 0.5% or 1% response rate off of that. So five to 10 people. David's the better math person than I am. 5 to 10 people would be the responses back. And then, this is where we start getting into how good are your sales abilities here to be able, and again, this would be off of cold, like people that have no idea who you are, you have no level of relationship, rapport, or trust with them. And, let's say maybe you convert 50% of those. So off of 1,000 people that you're mailing, that would be 2.5 sales. Now, the cost of mail is also going up 80 cents to $1.25 for one of those pieces. So let's just take the lower end, 80 cents. And let's say that you do need to hit that household 3 times to get that response. That's $2,400 that you'd be spending to pull out 2.5 sales. That'd be considering that you had a 50% close rate on that.
Yeah, which even if they were T65 Medicare, you're looking at $1,500. So $1,500 for a $2,400 investment into your marketing, or if you're looking at final expense, an average of $500, a sale, then you're looking at $1,500 or so for $2,400 on the final expense side. So if you're looking at it, man, the numbers aren't super great, especially when you're considering you potentially really want a 4x return when you invest money in the marketing side, right? So it maybe is not hitting that, right? I got to be really good at getting referrals or cross-selling if I'm really going to be profitable off of that. So it may not be the initial first thing that you're focused on, and just consider that. So kind of cons, tends to be expensive, declining response rates, slow turnaround, no brand growth. So direct mail is kind of like trying to flirt by carrier pigeon. It eventually gets there, but is it painfully slow? And most people don't even open the letter, which, I mean, I'd open the letter if it's a carrier pigeon. So I don't know, maybe not the best analogy, but yeah. So, all right. So that's one area, right? But there's plenty of areas. So another area that we'll dive into a little bit, and it's kind of a mixed bag, is grassroots or local networking.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay. So David and I, we love relationship-based marketing. We're very big on building strategic partnerships and, developing relationships inside of your local community. But I will say this when it comes to grassroots / like networking. So I include things that are like your Rotary Club, your BNI, these general networking events that a lot of agents go to. Like, again, they can be amazing. You could find your very next best strategic referral partner at one of these events, or you could find your, what I call a little honey hole, which is like a niche of really great people that are part of a local community. So, and this is true for everything that we're talking about. We're trying to evaluate this, pros and cons for you. But I will say that the biggest pitfall that I see agents make, and I relate heavily to this because David and I did this very, very early on when we were first learning about growing our business. And it's just spending so much time at these networking events and not having a real plan to have conversations or being even strategic about who you want to meet at these events. It's like you go, you shake some hands, you exchange business cards, you throw those business cards in a shoebox, and then you like rinse and repeat and do it every Wednesday without actually developing it into real relationships that turn into business for you.
Yeah, so definitely take into account time, right? I think that's another mistake agents make a lot is my time is not worth anything, so it's free, right? In reality, it's usually the most expensive use of your time, right? Because if I could be writing a policy right then, $500,000+ a policy, well, my time is now $500 to $1,000 an hour, and if I'm going to the networking event and spending a couple hours there, okay, these might be the most expensive opportunities I get if I'm getting opportunities from them, right? But something to keep in mind, because usually a lot of agents initially have more time than money. So you got to, hey, I can pursue it maybe time wise if I can't pursue it financially, right? And so nothing wrong with grassroots, local market. I think people should be known in the area. I think it goes well in collaboration with organic, because then I can come in a room and people already know who I am and want to connect, or know people that I've serviced as clients or something there, and then it makes it even more beneficial. But like I said, you want to be strategic with it and have a plan. And hey, if real estate agents are my absolute best referral partners and absolutely amazing for what I do, then I'm going to events that have lots of real estate agents there and forming conversations, not just going to a general networking one that has the dry cleaner down the road, right? Who may or may not be the best referral partner. So be strategic with it, make sure it makes sense, and evaluate if it's different networking opportunities, what's going to be the best for me. Is this going to be worth it for investing in a group like a BNI or Master Networks? Grassroots can also be holding local events and seminars and stuff like that, which got to market to get people to those. So now you're marketing twice, essentially, on those. But once again, nothing wrong with grassroots, and tap into your communities, tap into people you already have influence with, because if you've lived in your area for a bit, you probably already do have some opportunities you can tap into. And those are some great areas to dive in at the very beginning of building your business and continue expand as you go along as well. So,
and just to give you some real tactical advice on this, if out of these events you aren't sitting down, I would say the stats on this really should be you need to be sitting down with 3 to 5 people from your networking events that could be good synergistic partners with your business. And out of those 3 to 5 relationships, you should be scheduling 1 to 2 collaborations every single month. What I mean by collaborations is going to be some sort of workshop, giveaway, something, and ideally you're working with local business owners that are okay promoting you to their audience and their client base. That's a win that comes out of these grassroots local networking. This is something we know a lot about because we teach our clients really strategically how to approach these relationships so that they're not just wasting time passing out business cards. But those are the numbers that you really want to get to here, where you at least twice a month are getting in front of a new client base, new audience, to help you expand your network and your audience, and that you're pulling conversations and sales out of those collaborations that you're doing.
Love it. So pros: builds community visibility, genuine trust, long-term relationships, especially if you're really connecting with people locally, whether, once again, networking, church communities, all kinds of opportunities, grassroots, right? Cons can be very time heavy, take a ton of time for this, limited scalability, especially depending on where you're located, and then hit or miss results a little bit on, are people really open and ready to dive into these relationships and working together or sending business your way, or are they there for the free food and drinks, right? So it's kind of like slow cooking your business. It smells amazing, but you better be patient. Is a part of that. I don't know if it's a great analogy or not, but I'm having fun with them. So, all right. So now I'm moving into another one that agents are very familiar with: buying leads. And I'm going to specify for this one of using third-party vendors. So these are not you running ads yourself and learning and running ads and with you in those ads, right? So can you talk a little bit about buying leads and using third-party vendors?
Yeah, it's such a double-edged sword in this space. Like, I know I've shared this sentiment before, but it always just amazes me in that leads are available. Like there are these vendors out there that create leads. There are IMOs and FMOs that generate leads or have trusted lead vendors. So brand new agents can get started with people to talk to out of the gate. Like I think that conceptually is amazing. But the downside, the other side of this is well, one, agents don't know how to market. They don't know marketing basics because they're just like, here are leads. And they also are set this expectation. And they're like, oh, I've got people to call. And they think, wow, these people are sitting by the phone waiting for me to call them. Like, and they think that they're just going to call and they're going to have a little fun conversation with them and they're just going to be ready to buy. But the reality with leads is that they are very low intent, even for lead vendors that do a great job generating leads without brand awareness and without a lot of like the organic strategies that we talk about, but essentially without you getting your face, your name, and your brand in front of these people, it's cold because it is a new conversation to you. They have no idea who you are. And so when you call that person, this is what David goes back to, you have to be a sales ninja to be able to close them on that first call or even the second call, or have amazing follow-up skills. And so it's not that they are in essence like bad. I mean, I think that the idea of it is actually really, really great. But let's, kind of dig into what to expect here. So first off, you just want to keep in mind typical conversion rate is going to be a 10%. And that's going to be after building your pipeline. This is also something that I think is so important to realize is that you build a follow-up pipeline with your leads, right? Like you buy your first batch of leads, you get that first batch of leads, even to expect, if you buy 10 leads, to expect 2 sales out of the 10, it honestly is probably not going to happen. It's going to be weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of buying batches of leads that you're going to average out to a 10 or 12% conversion rate. And at that point, you are thousands of dollars into buying leads. So it's not that like, I know David and I kind of like throw rocks, I think a lot at leads and at lead vendors. It's just because I think that there's so much wrong expectation that people have about leads as they're coming into the industry. And then you also need to be really good at working your pipeline. Speed to lead is so important. Having a CRM, automations that can continue to nurture your leads, making sure that you're following up and doing your dials. It is a high activity that you need to be doing if you are relying solely on third-party vendors, because you're making up for that report, like the organic stuff that we talk about, or even grassroots stuff or referral, somebody that kind of knows a little bit of who you are. They're further along in the buying process just because they have that trust and rapport. You have to make up for that with your dialing activity, texting activity, email activity, to build that with a prospect, either right as you catch them on the phone or leading up to getting on the phone with them.
And with that too, you don't control the process. You don't know what's going on behind the scene, what those ads look like that they're generating the leads from, or even if did they generate them, or did they just buy those leads from another vendor and then sell them to you. And when you don't have control, you're also at the mercy of changes, right? Like I don't have the ultimate control how they first see stuff, what's being told to them, to eventually connecting with me. So there's a disconnect a lot of times between what the prospects thinking or have seen, or that journey they've been on, and then now the agent connecting, oh yeah, they've been warmed up, they're ready to buy from me and already know what they need. And that's not how that connection happens at all. So it's part of that, the expectations and control that you don't have. Also, when platforms and stuff change, that can affect the cost per leads, that now you're paying more per lead of what you had budgeted previously or the prior year. So it's all things to consider on that side as well. So pros, you can get to instant conversations. When we say instant, quote unquote, because you still got to get a hold of them. It may still take time, but you can generate some quick conversations off of it. It's easy to start, low barrier to entry to buy leads, and then start working those leads. Right. Cons can be recycled, can be worked multiple times over, can be old, can be not know where it came from, could be shared, could be most likely kind of low intent, that I've just got to put a lot of time and effort to get people across the lines there, and a high rejection rate, right? Like there's a mental effect and toll too of constantly being told no and having to put on your smile and go on to the next one as a part of it too. So some things to consider from pros and cons on that side. So next one is kind of a variation of that, where you still may be working with a vendor or on that side, but generating paid ads, right? Where running marketing and generating the paid ads to where it's coming straight from the ad to you, and you can have more control around that, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Google. There's a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I love about paid ads is that it becomes like this lever that you can start to pull, or like pull in your business. And as you have ads dialed in, you're just spending more money. And I mean, ideally, that for every $1 that you spend, you're going to get at least 4 back. That's the marker that we look for, is a 4x return on your investment when it comes to paid advertising. So it becomes something that can be very dialed in theory. But the reality is also, like David's saying with the lead vendors, it's true with Facebook or YouTube or Google, with these platforms. Your creative can fatigue over time, which means like the video or the image that runs with it. Your messaging can also fatigue over time. So it's not just like I think a lot of times people are just like, it's just a set it and forget it kind of system, but it's not, because the same things that we teach in the organic concepts about the platforms, rewarding content that is engaging and keeps people on the platform, it's true for your ads too. You will pay, if you put a bad ad out there, you're going to pay more to get it in front of people, because the platforms don't want to serve it to people. Like, this is bad. People don't want to see this. Like, yeah, you're going to pay me 3 times as much to show people this ad, versus people are like, oh, this is making me laugh, or they're engaging with it in the comments, it's keeping them on the platform. Then the platform's going to be like, okay, we'll just show this to more people because people like it and they're interacting with it. So to continuously strike that balance and do it well over and over and over and over again, it can be a lot of work to do that. And then even finding your marketing angles, the creative, the text, the copy that's going to really hit and get people from the platform to click a button, go to a form and fill out that information. It can be a lot of testing that's involved with that. And the number one thing that I see with this is that a lot of business owners really struggle with the emotional resilience to keep their ads running. They're like, especially, again, same thing as paid leads, you're going to have to give it some time to build a pipeline, especially if you guys are selling these, higher ticket products. it takes people a little bit longer, to the deal cycle is longer on those, and that's normal. So if you're expecting to turn your ads on and then the next day you're converting off of these, it's just an unrealistic expectation. You got to give it time to let your pipeline build.
And this is something we can dive into a lot deeper on another podcast. We might bring in our team member, Bobby, on there, who's managed over 28 million in ad spend and hundreds of thousands of insurance leads and stuff on there. So it'd be a real great conversation to have with him, and maybe James, copywriting, script writing, for those ads. So we might have to set up an additional podcast where we dive into that with them. But as far as for now with paid ads, pros can be fast to scale. When you're needing to scale, still going to have that time to initially build up. But when you want to scale, it can be quick to scale up a paid ad. It's measurable. I know my data and statistics. I don't have to imagine or guess at them. And it can be powerful with data and a budget that I can keep on absolutely having a consistent, predictable of what I have flowing through there. Cons, it can be expensive for getting the testing, done and in place, and taking time to get this to where it is predictable and in place, but it can be rewarding after that. Takes constant optimization. So it's not a set it, forget it. It's something I have to pay attention to and optimize to keep performing. And it depends on the algorithms as well. So something with insurance is they've now fall under the special ads category. And so a lot of targeting options are not there. So you have to be really good with the ad side. So once again, that comes into, it's a skill set either have to learn or hire for. And you need to know how it works if you're going to hire, or else, how do you know you're hiring right? So with that, we're going to move in one more area here that we're going to go through a little quicker, just because I think a lot of agents have moved away from this as much anymore for traditional marketing. So billboards, radio, magazines, some pros with that side is, it can be some local credibility, especially if I'm going heavy local around there. Can be visibility for established brands. If you're already established, you are, just a way to stay in front of people and continuously remind them. The cons are no real targeting on them, minimal tracking. It can be high cost. I don't even know exactly what's coming from where unless I'm asking my clients every single time, which, just is another piece of friction that, don't have to want to ask them all the time where they're coming from, or just get misattributed. So I really don't know how effective it is over time as well. So, it's just also not how people consume information as much. No one's driving down the highway and like, oh, let me, take my hands off the steering wheel and call that random number on the billboard. Or I don't know last time I've read a magazine or seen magazines. So it's just things have shifted, right? Things have moved more to the digital. So I won't spend too much time on there. But Elle, was there anything you wanted to point out for traditional marketing?
Yeah, so this is something that, again, all this stuff can be beneficial, but I would definitely say this is going to be way more for established agencies that are looking to build that, what we call that brand awareness piece. And they just want their face everywhere. And
lawyers.
Yeah, like your personal injury lawyers. And especially as you're getting started or in the earlier stages of your business, I'm going to say that there's going to be a lot better ways to where you can get both. You can get both the visibility of building the brand and that brand equity that we talked about, but then also the conversion piece, because that's what really lacks with this type of, it's that like, it's not really spray and pray, but it's more just taking this, like, I want to be everywhere and be very visible. It's not that it's bad for you at all. It's just usually early on, there's going to be better ways to invest your marketing dollars so that you can get more lift conversations coming from it. So it's kind of also like a social media strategy that just focuses on visibility or going viral. Going viral does nothing for you unless you have a conversion mechanism to get into conversations with people. So billboards, radios, and magazine it's a visibility play.
Love it. So let's move on to our favorite, or one of our favorites, is the organic social media side. Elle, why is this something they should consider?
Yeah. So I mean, organic social is one of the best places to get started with building your marketing presence. The social media platforms are free for us to post on every single day, and billions of people are using them. It is how we are going and reaching our target audience. Like we've talked about some things like the grassroots networking and stuff, but social media literally allows us to go exactly where our audience is already spending 2.5 hours of their day every single day. There is not a time and place that has been better for us to build a business because of what social media allows us to do. And we also love social media because it compounds over time. It does give you that ability to consistently get in front of your audience every single day, to show up exactly where they're already spending their time. Now, cons of it is that it requires consistency. This is the number one reason why we see agents not stay committed to social medias, because it does require consistency and it does require a willingness to show up and not be a secret agent. But I would argue that any marketing channel that's worthwhile is going to require you to put your face and your name out there to some degree, because that's what marketing is. You can't be hidden and also expect for people to know who you are.
Yeah, it's like I don't want them to know who I am, see me, anything at all. I want them just to know this generic brand name that I picked out that no one knows anything about. It's like the hardest way to grow, right? Versus you are you. So it's much easier to stick out and people know who you are and be memorable through that. And we just talk about the efficiency of it. Like, yeah, if I knew that homeowners was my absolute target audience for mortgage protection, home insurance, whatever it is, then yeah, I could locally grassroots or traditional advertising, like go to where homeowners, a HOA meeting or, something that has a group of homeowners meeting up and talking. But through social, I can be like Facebook groups with homeowners across my entire state or across the whole country if I'm licensed multiple states, where I'm building those relationships, trust, connections, and everything there versus just when they happen to meet locally, if I can happen to make it at that time, right? So there's a lot of efficiency in that. So I get to build relationships before I even ever talk to someone. So people come to me ready to buy off of social, as well as people that have influence and referral partners. We'll dive into a little bit there too. But social, you hear us talk about a lot. It's free to execute organic social media, right? It's not like I'm paying and constantly an output towards either ads or leads on that side. I can build it for free. So really of all budgets, something I go implement. It builds that brand. People know who I am. They, build that trust. They spread the word. They send referrals. Like I become easily recognizable because I see David and Elle every day, right? And it's constantly here when we go to events, as they already know and have seen us from the social. It creates inbound opportunities. People come to me versus me having to go chase them down and convince them to talk to me. And it compounds over time. It gets more and more powerful. So I get more and more results for less and less work over time. So you hear us talk a lot about those things, but there's a couple things to consider when it comes to organic social as well. Elle, what do they also need to keep in mind?
Yeah, so it requires you to be consistent and to show up.
Yeah. And, it's kind of like the gym, right? A lot of people sign up and never go. So if you hop on social, but never do anything on social, participate or use it strategically, it's not going to do much. But for those who show up consistently, yes, total transformation, right? And that's what we really talk about when it comes to social. So the last one we want to talk about, and one of the most leveraged and powerful in our minds as well, is strategic referral partner relationships. Now, what does that mean? Is that the cards in a shoebox? What's the difference?
Yeah. So we talked about networking earlier, but strategic referral partnerships is not networking. I think that's a really important distinction to make. These are people that already have traffic and trust with your target market. That's not to say that you couldn't meet them through networking, but these are people that have a level of influence with the audience that is your specific target market. And so these partners, essentially by recommending you to their existing clients or their contacts, can help you build a steady stream of referrals that can fill your entire pipeline. What's also really cool about this too is that there is a transfer of trust that happens. So when you have a strategic referral partner that's recommending you, they're recommending you, right? There is a level of that personal branding that they kind of have an idea of who you are, what you do, how you help, because your strategic partner has already laid the groundwork. And then a really good strategic partner is also hopefully going to collaborate with you in some way. So that might be like a joint workshop or a webinar of some sort that you guys might host together that allows you to actually speak and present to their audience or to their existing client base before you even get on the phone with them.
Absolutely. I mean, they've already done the work, built the relationships, have that trust, and now they're just passing that person to you, edifying, hey, David and Elle, great. They do an amazing job with it. They'll take care of you, especially after knowing you and your business, what you need. I think you'd be a good fit. So they're coming over already, having that trust already set up for, oh, you're going to be a great solution for me. And Bob says you're fantastic, right? It's such an easier conversation and already set up for success that it feels almost like cheating. And so, that's something we want to very much instill. It's not that I need 1,000 strategic referral partners. Even just a couple can double, triple businesses. I've seen it happen almost overnight within a few weeks, a month. Someone's doubled their business from a referral partner that's just been passing along. In fact, we had a client, had 544 referrals this first month from a few referral partners that were sending them people to, went from zero production, 35,000 in life, all from referrals from referral partners. They're really, really powerful when you find the ones that deal with your target audience, that understand how to pass referrals along, how there's joint value between both parties when it comes to that as well. And when you set that up, it makes a world of difference for your business. So the pros of strategic referral partner, relationships is warm intros, like I just mentioned, high trust, already trusting because they trust that referral partner to send them over, already willing to talk to you. They don't need to convince them to stay on the phone with you. A consistent business flow. Those are businesses. They're staying in business, and so that means they know how to generate opportunities and clients. So they're going to continuously have more opportunities to connect you with, right? And you can leverage it across industries as well. So much opportunities there. It does take some time and effort to build, but it's very, very rewarding. So you have to find the right fits for your target audience that also understand, doing referral partner relationships together and how to do content or how to leverage relationships. But when you do, it's very, very rewarding. So it's like having a hype squad that actually makes you money, right? So, and I talk about leverage all the time. Like, you can chase one lead at a time and find each new opportunity and try to bring them through. Or you can build a relationship with even one referral partner that sends you 10 clients a month, 120 clients a year. You think about your average, how much a client's worth for you, the lifetime value, and you times it by 120. That's how much a referrals partner's worth for you a year. It's a pretty good use of time and leverage to return off of that as well. So that's why it's one of my absolute favorite ways of marketing and generating opportunities for your business. So with that, those are some of the main areas we wanted to cover with you guys. Quick recap on that. Not all lead sources of ways of generating business are created equal, right? And not all investments have the same lifespan, where some reward you as I pay for it right now, but then stop immediately. And then some reward you ongoing for years and years and decades in your business.
Yeah. And you really want to focus on building those systems and your brand. Really thinking about skills that you can acquire in marketing, not because you have to be the marketer inside of your business forever, but if you do want to effectively hire people to do this stuff for you or vendors to do it for you, you got to know what you're looking at. Having a baseline understanding of some of the metrics that we talked about, setting those expectations also for yourself so you're not setting yourself up for disappointment either, like buying leads and expecting them to be waiting by the phone for your phone call. And you really want to think about what is going to also build that long-term brand equity for you as well. What marketing doesn't mean that you can't invest in some of these things like the third-party lead vendors that don't build brand equity, but make sure that you're also doing something that will build that brand equity for you over time.
Yes. And don't focus on what's the cheapest. Doesn't mean it has to be a big investment. Focus on what is going to actually get you the best return. And whenever possible, not something that I'm renting, but something that is building that long-term brand equity, like Elle said, that I own and continuously rewards me day in and day out, year over year for my business. So with that, we thank you for joining us on this episode of the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast. For all the show notes, all the breakdown, everything we talked about, as well as how to connect and get all the goodies, go to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast, where we got all of that put together for you guys. We really appreciate you guys joining us. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast.